This is Antic, the Atari 8-bit podcast.
I'm Kevin Savitz, and this is an interview episode of Antic, the Atari 8-bit podcast. David Cramer is the Vice President of Business Development at Western Design Center, the company that still, today, manufactures and sells the 6502 chip, the CPU that's at the heart of the Atari, Apple II, Commodore 64, and many other classic computers. In fact, the 6502 is used in many modern applications today, like pacemakers. It's also available in development kits for hobbyists, as David will explain in this interview. This interview occurred March 27, 2015.
My name is David Cramer, and I'm the Vice President of Business Development for the Western Design Center.
Okay. And how long has Western Design Center been in business?
The Western Design Center started in 1978,
Okay.
so we're going on with 37 years.
Wow.
Which is actually pretty interesting considering I was born in 1979. And the Western Design Center is owned and operated by William D. Mensch Jr., which is Bill Mensch, many know him by, who was a designer and one of the co-creators of the 6502 microprocessor, and many others. And even previous to that, in his days with Motorola, the 6800 series, and I'm sure everybody knows the legacy and the story behind that group, Chuck Peddle and Bill Mensch and all those guys. So,
Cool. So what is Western Design Center?
The Western Design Center, currently I think we're one of the only still privately owned IP and IC development companies in the world, as far as I know. We carry the 65XX brand. We've maintained the 65XX family of IC products and IP licensing since we've started. So that's basically what we do. We mostly were. Prior to my engagement, the big pool in focus for the Western Design Center has been in the IP licensing area, which many people don't know a lot. That 65XX technology is maintained to be strong for many, many years, obviously, through those licensees. But then it almost is obscured the relevance of the technology in some ways, because in the sense of, like, people don't know, they didn't, there's still there's pacemakers by some of our licensees that are still being produced in massive quantities still today, and you could probably, if you had a magical 6502 or 65CO2 detector, you could probably walk into your local Walmart and see many basic electronics being ran with the 6502 core.
Wow.
Or 816 core today. So
when you license the technology, they basically. But when I think of a 6502 chip, I think of the little bug in the
sure.
Atari or Apple or something. So this is I assume, vastly miniaturized version that basically runs the same chipset. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the architecture, is all the same and everything else. Yeah, we license. It's basically the licensing of a soft core that, especially over in China and Japan and there, it's basically die on board. So you don't really see, you don't get to see the fun chip like you used to in some of the products, like the Apple II or right. Those types of things, but. It's kind of obscured the visibility of the 65XX family in some way.
So how many, shooting in the dark here, how many products still exist that are being manufactured today still use that technology?
Hundreds.
Wow.
Hundreds or thousands, actually, of products. There's hundreds of thousands or millions, actually, of units still based off of the royalty reports. being produced quarterly.
Why?
So,
Why are modern manufacturers still using the 30-year-old technology?
well, the architecture works. The 65 CO2 and 816, they're workhorses. They're very simple to use, very simple to apply. Their general purpose, their seminal nature from their origins has really given them the ability to withstand some of the advances in the technology revolution, which we know are massive. Look at your cell phone in comparison to what it looked like in 2002.
Sure.
We're talking 10, 15 years. There's massive leaps recently. And in the 8-bit market, the 8-bit and 16-bit market, there's many reports out there. I think there was one just recently that shows that it's very viable. It's still got a big hold on just general purpose things. Simple controllers that run simple things, whether it's industrial machinery, refrigerator units, power line communications, all the way up to much more complex things that are that need high levels of approval, like heart pacemakers and those types of things. The 65 CO2 core is running in all of those things still today.
Wow.
So it's pretty interesting.
So getting back to the 6502 or 65 CO2 that I know that's in my Atari 800, you still sell those as well, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Are they 65? Are they still being manufactured, or this is like super old stock? Or?
No. We manufacture them yearly. We manufacture thousands of units yearly through our. We have a manufacturer. We've always been a fabless semiconductor business model. I think Bill actually was a pioneer with fabless semiconductors. That whole business model and the original IP business models as it relates to semiconductors and those types of things. But yeah, we manufacture we modern standards. Everything's Rose Green compliant, REACH compliant. We all the manufacturing practices are all up to date. We got TSMC, where you are as a wafer supplier and everything. So yeah, we're obviously available. We have a whole list of where to buy through distributors on our WDC65XX.com website. But just some notable ones, obviously Mauser, Jameco, which would be like your online resources for the 65XX family. Or if you look for OEM, some people look for OEM distributors. We have TRG, Microcom, DEMA, Coltec, and GSI in the UK. So we have a pretty in Drexel in Asia. So we do have a pretty good reach and we have we're receiving orders every day, so they're moving. Wow. So that's always good.
Nice. Can you give an estimate of how many of those chips you sell a year, or sell to your distributors? I mean, are we talking? The bug chips. Are we talking the IC chips? Are we talking thousands? Are we talking tens of thousands?
Oh, there's definitely there's tens of thousands going out every year.
Wow.
So yeah, we're establishing, and we're since my start with the company and transitioning, I've been working over the last I've been with the company for the last 3 years. So over the last the first year is kind of just integrating, seeing what's going on, seeing what's working, what's not working, seeing what the business model really looks like, and since I started, we have been a couple of years ago, it was very difficult for hobbyists or people with, that want to look at some legacy applications for some newly developed chips or modern chips for their, Apples, Apple IIs or Nintendos or Ataris or what have you. they didn't have the ability just to buy one chip.
Mm-hmm.
It was very difficult because we only had OEM style distribution. Now with acquiring Mauser and Jameco, now you have the ability to get online, buy one or two chips, and globally. That's what's nice because there's these enthusiasts are everywhere. I mean, which is great. That's really been helpful not only to us but to the 65XX community, people who really love the technology, want to work with it.
Mm-hmm.
And then that was something also that sparked some of our new products, board level products, to come into play, because I would always have very interesting conversations with Mr. Mensch and the WDC technology team around enthusiasts. I go, man, hey, let's be honest with ourselves. These great products are long since retired. We see it's almost like we're digging up mummies now out of the dump. Oh my gosh, I got my, I found this Nintendo that, or it's been sitting in somebody's basement or attic for the last 20 years and it's in pristine condition. I could put every time I go to my office there at WDC headquarters in Mesa, we have a Nintendo, and I'm like, I should just plug this. I want to play it. I mean, geez, I grew up on it. I want to play this thing. This is fun. And so, or the old Atari, I'm like, oh man, could I finally beat this game? Maybe now that I'm a little older and smart. I think I'm smarter. Maybe I'm not. Yeah. So I have a little more, But so we built these. So I was like, Bill would go, oh, that's the Apple II, or that's the Nintendo, or that's the Super Nintendo, and he would show me these chips. He would just hand me, and from an engineering mindset, you're like, his mental picture of it's really easy for him to understand it. He could close his eyes and put those things together, and build the system himself. And I was always like, I feel like you're Jack, and these are your magic beans. How do I sell, or how do I accommodate to these enthusiasts your magic beans? Because not everybody possesses the engineering understanding to make this happen. Mm-hmm. And that sparked us to go, what, we have a responsibility, I think, not just because of the to embrace some of the things that we have our slogan for the company you see on the Western Design Center website is yesterday, today, and tomorrow. So how do you embrace that and give everybody the ability to continue to work with a technology that they grew up on, whether they were introduced to it through Commodore, Atari, Nintendo, or whatever, or the Apple, or whatever? How do you give them that ability to kind of, that's newly, available to work on? Because not everybody can build their own homebrew computer or homebrew system, or find one that's fully functional out of, like I say, somebody's basement or the dump or wherever. Right. And so we designed we call it the Accelerator board series, and we have the O2, the 816, and then we also, because we do have a couple of microcontroller units, the 265 and the 134. Mm-hmm. Which actually the 265 is the solid state computer design for the Mensch computer. Bill actually had his own computer back in the early 90s, which was kind of interesting. It wasn't really didn't serve, it didn't get its day in the sun, I don't think, all that well. But and then the 134 microcontroller unit is one that's actually been proven and utilized for life-saving devices like heart pacemakers and such, which has the 65C or the CO2 core in it, and then the 265 has the 816 core in it. So they're microcontrollers developed around those. But yeah, the O2 SXB and the 816 SXB, we wanted to develop those in a way that they maintain that seminal nature.
So these are like development kits.
Yeah, we call them engineering development systems. That's how their designation. Okay. But they give all the, they have a 21 on them, which was the keyboard interface, and had a lot of legacy interfaces for that as it relates to some of these products that we've identified. And then it has a 22 on it, and it also has the 51 N on it, which has some limited functionality. It has some some quirks to it, but we have seen it in some applications recently. But then the big fun thing that we put on it was the XBus, which the XBus gives you the ability to tie direct in, whether it's with to the processor itself, with massive expandability. Whether you want to, with the 816, some people, that was in the Super Nintendo.
Mm-hmm.
Some people have. I don't think I've ever seen an application where the co-processing function has ever been utilized. So you could tie a couple of 816s or several 816s together to build this big system. We actually do have that board being promoted and tested within some universities that utilize or want to work with FPGAs to replicate the Super Nintendo system, and being able to use the XBus on the 816 board to on the 816 SXB to fully replicate the Super Nintendo system with its hardware capabilities rather than virtually replicate the system.
Right, do it in chip.
Yeah.
Nice.
So that's kind of fun, But obviously, with the Nintendo systems and stuff, they had some quirky chips that were developed around. What was the? Gosh, I can't remember the designation for it. I'll have to tip of my tongue here in a moment, unfortunately. But it was like a partial 6502. What is it? Gosh, what was it called?
In the NES.
Yeah, well, maybe it was in one of those systems, either in the Nintendo, the Super Nintendo, or maybe the Atari. It was at the Rock. Huh.
Yeah.
But there's several things with that, but yeah. So there's lots of good things, happening. We're trying to, obviously there's, putting a board level products out into the market at the current moment with, the craze around Arduinos or Raspberry Pis. It's an uphill battle in some sense, but the bottom line with ours is the value proposition is totally different than those boards. Those are, and I've actually I currently am utilizing our boards within tech clubs for 3rd through 5th graders in Durango, Colorado, where they're actually learning the difference in how technology works, because the architecture has been so popular for so long, and there's so many great products out there that have had such great success around them, that it's really easy to teach and get these kids excited about it. Whereas I think some of the other board level products is more working with technology. You're put in a almost a bubble where you're made for success with their technology, but you don't really get a feel that you're working directly with the technology itself, like understanding how it works, understanding how data buses work and registers work, and the connectivity through assembly language programming and then C programming, and those things are really, I think, vital to empowering a new generation of engineers. And I have yet to see a board by a company that presents our capacity of taking anything from IC to IP development, put something out there it holds true to those roots. Mm-hmm. I mean, we're not trying to sell somebody on, get your shirt to light up and everything else, and then you think you're a real engineer, and then they talk to real engineers, and I've talked to them, they're like, yeah, it's a bit discouraging to see this kid think that he has the equivalent of my knowledge, and I've been studying for
sure. But getting your shirt to light up is a great first step.
It is. Yeah. It is. And then that's where, and obviously that's where we're starting too. It's like, okay, how do we get something to light up? I got kids in 3rd, 4th grade, writing binary counters in 6502 assembly,
Nice.
and stuff like that. So that's really cool.
So I have here a 6502 hardware manual dated 1976.
Oh yeah, we have that on our website, available for anybody who's looking for it.
Excellent. So my question is, how different is today's 6502 from this one? Is it bit for bit identical? Have improvements been made? Bugs fixed?
With the 65C02, bugs had been fixed. That one's very obviously closely related to the original 6502. So yeah, there are a number of bug fixes, but for the most part, the general purpose nature and seminal nature of the architecture has held true. I think anybody who is interested in a system that has utilized the original 6502 technology in relationship to that manual, definitely will find value from that manual as it relates to today's 65CO2 version. That's why we on WDC65XX.com we do promote within our programming and hardware manuals in the store. They're free for download. The PDFs are free. So we do have both the hardware and software manual that you just showed us and or showed me, and then we also have the David Eyes and Ron Lichty manual PDF available for download. Now, in relationship to that, a big thing to get out as it relates to that manual is WDC had that manual translated from its written our hard copy to basically a retyped version of it. And within that process, we identified multiple issues, mistakes made, what have you, which we've been notified about time and time and time again. As of today, what is this? March 27th, 2015, we have had basically one of those manuals sent out and destroyed, which many people will be upset about. And the reason it was destroyed is because it needed to be taken apart piece by piece to be properly scanned in, and it will be fully available as of today in its original version on the WDC65XX.com website. So for everybody who's interested in that manual, there's so many copies out there that poorly done. And we apologize. I could profusely apologize, even though I had nothing to do with it. Its original deal. But yeah, okay. So as of today, the original manual has been fully scanned in, and it will be available later on today. It's not currently available, but within the next couple of hours, it will be available.
Certainly by the time this podcast is published, it'll be there.
Most definitely. So then that one will be free to be distributed. I'm sure, much like the other one, it will be massively distributed by whomever has an interest. And in that, there's so much. I didn't realize this myself because I myself was working from the poorly developed version of it, and I was like, wow, man, there's so many issues. This is just whatever. I mean, yeah, whatever you can find a value in it is great, but with this version, tremendous amount of value. And now I understand. I would always hear from enthusiasts and some really good friends of mine, Bill Breyer and Garth Wilson and them, that that was like, this is such a great thing. Why aren't you guys promoting it more? And they would on 6502.org would say, get this manual. And I think that they didn't realize in some ways, maybe after a period of time, they started to realize that how bad the version we had up there was, because they probably had written versions like you just showed me a book, hey, I have this, so I know what's good,
Right.
And so we're fixing that now.
Awesome.
It's a timely process, but it's about time to get
Nice.
Yeah. But yeah, so 65XX, just to get down to the 65XX technology, it's really been an honor and really amazing to me how, especially with the Western Design Center being in business for 37 years, how, like I said, the obscurity of is the technology still around? How can I work with the technology? Is it being taught, or is it valuable in a teaching setting? All of those things are the primary new focus of the Western Design Center, to say, you know what, we are still around. The technology is still very valuable. There's a lot of application, like I said, functionalities of the technology that haven't really been exposed or worked with, like I say, co-processing with the 816 or some of the instruction sets. It's just really amazing how a technology that has been around for that long has maintained a level of secrets within it that are yet to be exposed. And in today's world, with the advancements of, with ARM basically taking over the world of technology in many ways, there's plenty of fun stories about them. They actually came to Bill Mensch to start ARM and took a lot of his advice and stuff and implemented it towards their current success, which is pretty awesome. But he obviously he can tell story upon story. What's great about that is all those stories will be soon available through a interview by the Computer History Museum that they did of Mr. Mensch. And so that'll be all available here in the very near future. I'll send you a link whenever that's goes public, so
awesome.
That way you can take a look at that. So
yeah, they do great work finding people and doing interviews and sharing them.
we got a great facility up there. We all flew up there, and they have really great staff, very knowledgeable, obviously very knowledgeable staff, and they really dig down into some really important topics that everybody wants an answer to or wants to hear the story behind, and so they do a really great job for sure.
Nice. So the 6502 has been in use for 30 years. Is it going to be in use in another 30, do you think?
That's the goal. The goal is to keep it around as long as the world will have it, so to speak. Our passion for it at the Western Design Center is it's not even measurable. I mean, we love this technology. We know that there is a vast amount of people that love the technology in one form or another through one system or another, and our goal is to keep it going. I mean, we have no plans to stop as long as everybody will support keeping it going. Obviously, it's a business, so we encourage everybody to support keeping it going through purchasing, chips and and boards, hopefully now, and doing fun things with it and showing the world again. That's where we really hope that the Accelerator series gives enthusiasts a platform that says, this is really we can still do fun stuff with it. Mm-hmm. People are I can look all over the internet. People doing fun stuff with old Apple IIs and old Ataris and old Nintendos, and actually in universities teaching with those systems. And so the architecture and the basics, in its rawest form, you would think would be, that gives all the freedom in the world to replicate a system or do whatever. There's some very intelligent people out there that I can't imagine wouldn't want to get their hands on one. And those are currently available at in my little plug at Mouser Electronics.
That's MOUSER, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Excellent. And man, you make me want to run out and make a homebrew 6502 machine right now, today.
Well, and that's just it. Yeah, there's a lot of people that really still aspire to make, they go, I wish I had the time. Mm-hmm. I wish they had the time. And when you look at all the costs associated with it, time involved with it, hey, just go buy an accelerator board. I'm not trying to cut you short on it. We've packed it all in there. There's so much. I mean, you got the 22, the 21, the 02. You have an FTDI tools interface that working with our Terbium IDE, which definitely is at least a good start. But we encourage anybody who has been wanting and putting that idea on the back burner. Hey, if you want a quick head start to it, here you go. It's definitely probably more cost effective. Last time I looked at some of the project lists for homebrew computers and building PCBs and everything else. They're not the cheapest boards on the market, but I think they're more valuable. They have a different value proposition. They're more valuable in the amount of I/O that we possess on the boards initially, and their flexibility to be able to come off of the X bus and expand. So, and these kids at these tech clubs that we're integrating them into are just finding ways to reignite another generation of engineers that will hopefully carry, based on your question there, carry the technology into the future in one form or another. So
awesome.
Really excited about that.
It's exciting.
Yeah, for sure.
Is there anything I should have asked you that I haven't yet?
I don't know. I kind of take these things in stride. I really, I have a story I want to get out, and I definitely want to accommodate anything that your listeners are interested in as well. And so I hope that within this, I think that we've really kind of embraced all of it, where it's been, where it's going, where it's at, where it's going, and like I said, it's exciting stuff for us. I mean, obviously I don't think any of us at the Western Design Center would be doing it if it wasn't exciting for us. So we hope the enthusiasm carries out there through some of the products and through the availability of the ICs for those who say, you know what, you kind of almost hit the mark with that board. That's great. I want to do something a little different. Hey, let me tell you, I promote it. You can go to the 65xx.com website and submit your project. I'll promote it through our social media, through our digital voice newsletter, which comes out monthly. You can sign up for the newsletter there and kind of hear about what's going on in the world of 65XX, including what we have going on at the Western Design Center. You can sign up for that newsletter at our Facebook page. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. Those are some new things for the Western Design Center over the last couple of years, which is kind of fun. So, considering the length of time that the technology has been in production. So
cool. So okay, I knew about. I think this is my last question. I knew about WesternDesignCenter.com. I've looked at that site, and then you just told me about 65xx.com. What's the difference in the sites?
Well, the WDC, the WesternDesignCenter.com site is more engineer based. Like if you can see it, it's very almost like a textbook. When you read it, it's very to the point. The data sheets are all to the point. Everything else. The WDC65xx.com site is more of our commercial site. Hey, here's our products. Here's new products. This is what's going on. This is how it applies to certain markets. It's more, and it's obviously you can even see that they're very different in their display.
So this is more of a marketing site, it looks like.
Yeah.
Okay.
But there's a lot of useful information. Especially like I said, we're putting, we're showing the value of the technology in these board forms. And in education and hobby, the maker markets and stuff. So we identify some of those value propositions, and we want kids to be kids of people. I say kids, whatever. What do I know about it? I'm a kid.
Kids of all ages.
Yeah, kids of all ages to be excited about it, and there's a lot of fun stuff going on around the legacy of the technology, even and people that we stay in close contact with that are doing some fun stuff too. So we're trying to pull a line that says, hey, it's not you're not talking about history. It's not over. We're still going strong. So let's not talk about it like we're at a wake here. Let's talk about the value of it then and now and where it will be, hopefully in the future. So,
awesome.
For sure.
I think that's all I need. Thank you so much, David.
Okay, thank you so much, and I really do appreciate your time and the opportunity.
Cool. Have a great day.
Thanks. You too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
If you enjoyed these interviews and would like to contribute something, I encourage you instead to donate to one of our favorite organizations, the Internet Archive, at archive.org. The Internet Archive is a nonprofit digital library with the stated mission of universal access to all knowledge. They've done incredible things to preserve computer history, including hosting thousands of programs in an in-browser Atari emulator, creating the Wayback Machine, and offering full-page scans of countless Atari computer books and magazines. Make your tax-deductible contribution at archive.org/donate.